It's warp time.
Okay, folks. Episode 2. Star Trek Lower Decks. This is your rapid reaction for Envoys. Okay, not a rapid reaction since episode 3 drops in 4 hours. Sorry. I'm working on it. As you can see, I've actually made a little set. Still working on it. Gotta work on the lighting, but we're getting there. Okay, so episode 2, Envoys. I thought it was a pretty good episode. It definitely has that next generation vibe. I think it's a logical successor to the next generation. So basically in this episode, we're following Bulmer. Well, I'm horrible with names. Give me a few years, I'll get them right. And Mariner, as they babysit, for lack of a better term, General Corin, Klingon, down to a peace accords. Of course, nothing goes to plan, but I'm not going to give you a bunch of spoilers. I want you to go look at it, and I want to be respectful to all our international friends who still can't watch it legally. CBS. Okay, let's get a few of my thoughts that came to mind throughout the episode. So I've watched it actually a few times now, and I have 3-4 pages of notes. So I'm still working on this, on how to do this. I'll get there. Okay, so one of my things that I first came to mind was I really like Rutherford. He definitely reminds me of Geordi, especially with his interpersonal relations with the opposite sex. Definitely reminds me of that, and for the fact that he has the implant or whatever you want to call it. I'm getting a lot of Geordi vibes there, especially how through this episode, Rutherford went through a soul-seeking mission, where just to please his colleague, he went through seeing if he could find a different career. And I won't spoil what happened, but let's just say that there's no place better for him than inside of an engine room. But one thing I would really like, maybe even a short track, I'd like to know Rutherford's backstory on how he got his cybernetics. One of the other things that came to mind when Bulmer and Mariner were down on the planet's surface after General Corin stole their shuttle, and since this planet is protected by essentially a shield, they can't just transport or use communications to find him, so they have to go old-fashioned wild goose chase. All I gotta say is there are so many different types of hot worms, because when a Klingon needs worms, he wants them hot. I think someone else might have mentioned this. I thought I was pretty good at not watching episode 2 reviews of some of the other folks on YouTube. But, is Bulmer human? Or half human? I think he's the hair. It seems like it's natural hair color, but purple isn't a natural human hair color. So, because he seems too by the book to dye his hair purple. So, I don't know. What's your take on that? Let's see here. There was one um, moment towards the end, where Mariner is helping to boost Bulmer's self-esteem. It was a very touching thing to do, and they introduced the Ferengi, and Bulmer went down all the stereotypical paths and everything about, oh, they're just here to steal your profits and stuff like that. It turned out just to be an act, and the Ferengi, who, if I'm pronouncing right, Quinn, was actually an intellectual who was playing a part, was friends with Mariner. I'm like, think for myself, and here, this is something I'd like people to comment on, is what do you think of that, if that's the influence that Rom's having as Grand Nagus? Because we all know, if you watched Deep Space Nine, that actually Rom was a much more to the left than than all of Ferengi society, and he became Grand Nagus there in the was it season 7 of DS9. A more intellectual Ferengi? I'm thinking that could be a Rom influence there. I don't know. What's your guys' take? I just love, there's so many little catchphrases. I really like It's Warp Time. At first, I thought it was goofy, but it's grown on me to the point where I started this episode with It's Warp Time. And I think I'm actually going to call the series It's Warp Time. I'm going to run with it. One of my final thoughts for this one is, or few final thoughts, is my favorite character for so far is Tiana. I really wish other series would have gone down into his or her, their species. I'm not sure. I think it would have been very, very interesting, and I think I'm looking forward to seeing this more of Tiana as we go forward. One thing that I found interesting, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, it's rated TVMA, but there was a scene at the end when General Corinne was finally dragged to where he needed to be, and he asked the lieutenant for his drinking horn because he needed more ale, and she goes, "You gotta be bleeping kidding me." They bleeped it out. Why? I don't know. Dramatic effect? I'll just finish on that. There's a smorgasbord of lots of Easter eggs in here. I didn't even notice most of them. I've caught. As I said, I've done a pretty good job at not watching reviews, but I've read a few things, and there's so many of them to the point where I'm going back and actually. I've never watched the original animated series, and when I was watching this episode of Lower Decks for I think the second time, it actually just CBS All Access just kind of rolled into the next one, or recommended it for the next thing to view after this was over, and I'm like, yeah, why not? I'm just working, I work 410s at home right now. I've been in the office since March because of COVID. I think it was like the third or fourth time I was watching it just as background noise, and it went into the anime series and like watched the first episode. I'm like, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. So I'm gonna finish that. I'm gonna rewatch the original series because I don't remember a lot of details from it. Yeah, I've watched here and there in the last few years, but never just a straight through good watch. And I noticed when this whole pandemic started, it was March or something. I started a rewatch of Stargate, which is one of my favorite shows or series of all time, and I went through every episode and every series, and that kind of run through, I picked up on so many things. And I'm going to do the same thing with the original series and then probably the Next Generation. Voyager and DS9 I have watched within the last decade, or even 5 years, and Enterprise I also did. I did that after I did Stargate. Okay, Enterprise. It's good Star Trek. You should watch it if you haven't seen it. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say for today. I've gone a lot longer than I was anticipating. I'm still working on the set. I think I have to reverse it. So, TV's over there. Just the way the room works. But, see? Took the Star Trek stuff out. I'll save that for another video. But there's a few things there. All the way back to a book I wrote in 5th grade. Star Trek. That was in 1995. I know, I'm a nerd. So, if you like my analysis, please give a thumbs up, and definitely please subscribe. I can get some views, but subscribers, you guys are elusive. If you got any tips you'd like to add, please don't hesitate to give them. I need the criticism. I don't think I said a lot of ums in this one. I'm working on that. So, and obviously if you made it through this far and you don't like it, that other button works too. So, till episode 3, and I promise I'll do it a little quicker. Stay sleepy? I don't know. I need to work on an end phrase.